Hello, my name is John Sevransky. I'm the editor-in-chief of Critical Care Medicine, and I am here for a bonus video um, related to an article in Critical Care Medicine, The Sepsis Chain of Survival, a comprehensive framework for improving sepsis outcomes by Hidalgo and colleagues. And I am truly fortunate to have with me Steve Simpson, who, while he is an expert clinician and researcher, he is here as the chair of the board of directors for the Sepsis Alliance. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, John. Great to be here and good to see you.
So I wanted to ask you, um, why is it important to have patients recognize sepsis symptoms?
Well, John, I think all of us recognize that a couple of different things that we recognize as practitioners. One is that it is sometimes difficult to diagnose sepsis, even for us. It takes us a while. There are certain classic signs and symptoms, and that's easy. There are certain less than classic signs and symptoms that are not so easy for us to diagnose. At the same time, I believe there's general agreement, although there's a little dissent here and there, but there is general agreement that the faster we treat someone with sepsis, the more likely they are to survive. And we don't know this for a fact yet, but I think it's a fairly safe presumption that the faster we treat patients with sepsis, the fewer post-sepsis complications they're likely to have. Um, so, how do we get to treat patients faster? One of the things is making sure that patients have ever even heard of sepsis and know to go seeking our help when they do. Sepsis Alliance, which, as you've mentioned, I'm currently the chairman of the board of directors, but Sepsis Alliance has for over 20 years had as one of its major pillars of involvement that we educate the general public, try and teach them about sepsis, and try and teach them what it might feel like and what signs they could look like when they have sepsis, so that ultimately our goal someday is that patients come to the emergency room or come to the doctor's office, and instead of just saying, "Doctor, I feel bad," they come and say, "I feel bad in this way, and I wonder if this could be sepsis." Because I think that will help us on our pathway to getting antibiotics into them, getting fluids into them quicker than what many places do now. Um, yeah, I think that's the key thing. Now, we've had some success with getting people to understand about sepsis. When we started this pathway in 2007, which was the founding of Sepsis Alliance, we have had help every single year from various national providers such as Nielsen or Gallup or someone polling people. What do they know about sepsis? Um, and the first year we did this, only 19% of patients out there had ever even heard the word. No idea. Our most recent data from this year showed that about 75% of people polled have at least heard the word. Now, the harder part is, so far, we still need to penetrate better with the information about how would you know if you should suspect sepsis, and how would you know to ask your doctor about that? Because on that, we still have room to grow by a significant margin.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And I might ask you, so as the chair of the board of directors of a patient advocacy group, um, not everybody will have access to that particular group,
Mhm.
although certainly they could reach out if they needed
Mhm.
to. But how might clinicians and researchers better partner with patient advocacy groups moving forward regarding improving the care of sepsis patients?
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really great question, and there are a couple of different pathways to follow. I mean, we as Sepsis Alliance, we look, as many nonprofits do, at other examples of where this has been put in place. Now, if you take something like the American Lung Association, founded in 1904, or the American Heart Association, founded in 1924, they were founded by doctors, interestingly enough. And it makes me wonder, why didn't doctors found the Sepsis Alliance, for patients? But be that as it may, there's a long history of involving people with heart disease or lung disease in the fight. What does that do? I think having a grounding in what it means to be someone who is affected by this disease always informs several things, including our bedside care. If I understand what it means to be a patient and to be in that bed, it helps me to be a better clinician. If if I read papers all the time, John, as you and I do, where we look at mortality statistics and duration of survival and things, it's easy to get caught up in this is a disease and this is a mortality rate, rather than these are people and this is a devastating thing that happens. In truth, sepsis is going to touch all of us one way or another. My own father has had septic shock, managed to make it through, and had some devastating post-sepsis consequences for a number of years. Um, and all of us are going to know someone who has this. It's going to touch all of us, and it's good to be grounded in that. But how can we work together, I think, is this. As you're aware, Sepsis Alliance held a conference last month in Chicago where we pulled together patients who had been affected by sepsis, basic scientists, clinical scientists, both clinical trialists and translational scientists, pull together engineers. We pull together people who are actually business people innovating in the space of sepsis, and we pulled in federal government to make comments on where we stand with sepsis. And I think the thing that we can do, and the thing that I think helped us to do this is, usually you don't talk to engineers on a day-to-day basis, and probably don't talk entrepreneurship or venture capital like we had in this conference on a day-to-day basis, and neither do I. But our organization, because of its hard work for 20 years, has built some credibility around what is it like to be a patient with sepsis? How can we support people who've had sepsis or families who've been devastated by sepsis? And that helps us to reach out to all these different folks and have all these different folks say, yeah, we want to help the patients. Yeah, absolutely, we want to do that. And in turn, it helps all these different folks who wouldn't see each other on a day-to-day basis to be able to interact, have new ideas, have better ideas, and get us farther down the road. Um, we think probably, we also do advocacy on the governmental level, advocating for different policies or different things. And we think that this will even strengthen our patient voice if we have the scientific voice uh, pulling with us as we speak. Um, One thing I can tell you from experience here is that the federal government and the state governments, they really care the most about what patients have to say. Um, you and I have worked on the side of what's it like trying to get research done, what's it like trying to put new therapies or new diagnostics into place, and we find the greatest support for our efforts when the congressmen, the senators, the policymakers can hear that this is something that's of importance to patients as well. It really moves the needle better. So I think there are a lot of ways that we can work together, but I think the key thing about the patient organizations is that is the rallying point for everybody. We're all in this for patients. Even those of us who are in it to as entrepreneurs to make money are in it ultimately to help make life better for patients. And so I think that's the reason to work very closely with patient organizations like this. And that's why I do it. It keeps me really grounded. On our board of directors are multiple people who've had sepsis, septic shock, or family members who have lost a loved one to sepsis or septic shock. And it keeps us all grounded. And why is it that we come to work every day?
So thank you. It has been my great pleasure to chat today with Steve Simpson, um, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Sepsis Alliance. And if you're interested in learning more about the sepsis chain of survival, please take a look at the October issue of Critical Care Medicine. Thank you and have a good day.
Thanks, John.